Hey guys, Yipz here coming with another video, and this one is going to be about the upcoming changes to Warlocks come Nighthold release. Now, Nighthold is being released on Tuesday, and it is being released in the form of Heroic and Normal versions. Mythic version will come out 1 week later after that, as well as Raid Finder. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this because of the changes that they're making to Warlocks. They've nerfed Malefic Grasp. No surprise there, Malefic Grasp was overperforming by a reasonable proportion, so they've changed it from 80% to 70%. They've also buffed the shard gen on Soul Effigy. Before, it was basically not generating a shard 55% of the time that it should have. So now when it generates shards, it's going to do it as if it was a 2-target fight. So if you had Agony on 2 targets, Soul Effigy will act as that 3rd target on a 2-target fight or a 2nd target on a 1-target fight. Now, I really want to talk about Malefic Grasp in particular, and the reason is because it's going to affect a lot of people. 10% on a major ability is a significant amount of DPS. It is a big DPS loss, and I want to talk about why I think it is an inappropriate change for Blizzard to make. While it makes sense, the change that they made, it was overperforming, so a nerf does make sense. I want to talk about why I think is a little inappropriate and why it was a little bit too preemptive by Blizzard to say, okay, let's nerf this ability on Tuesday and not wait a week or something like that, okay? So, right now, when you raid with Malefic Grasp, you know, if it was doing 70% compared to 80%, it would be about a 6 to 7% DPS loss. The reason for that is you only have about 30% uptime on the ability, and this is taking into effect that, like, you know, you have 100% uptime on your UAs, but you only have, like, 30% uptime on your other dots. So it's about a 6% DPS loss. Nothing too crazy, right? But the thing is, Affliction is only really overperforming because we're on fights in Emerald, Nightmare, and Trials of Valor, okay? The fights from Emerald, Nightmare, and Trials of Valor vary such greatly from, you know, Nighthold fights, because in Nighthold fights, we're going to be progressing. Right now in Emerald, Nightmare, and Trial of Valor, it's all farm content, and farm content bosses are a lot different than progression bosses for a lot of reasons, especially for an Affliction Warlock, so let's go into that. The reason that farm content bosses are different than progression bosses, because on a farm content boss, you start the fight with 12 Reaps. On a farm content boss, you can start the fight with 5 soul shards. On a farm content boss, the boss fight is generally between 20 to even 100% faster than a progression fight. You know, people are killing Ursoc in under 2 minutes, Mythic. People are killing, you know, Cenarius in like 2 minutes. You know, it's crazy how fast people are getting these kills on these bosses. And when you're killing a boss and you're able to have 100% reap up time as an Affliction Warlock, or close to, especially during Bloodlust, and you're able to have all of these extra shards and things like that, and you're able to get more Fatal Echo procs because of the RNG factor from Reap, and all of these things coming together just basically inflates Warlock way at a proportion of what it should be. Classes that are, you know, do not get inflated are ones that can, like, abuse this on farm content. I mean, obviously every single class is going to be able to abuse a shorter boss fight time, but you can't abuse the fact that 12 you know, Reap stacks is not going to happen on progression, and the fact that you're not going to start with additional shards and things like that. That's just not going to happen. So Affliction Warlock is very much so inflated in boss fights, and if you look at fights where you're not able to start with 12 Reaps, like Odin, it's just not possible. Warlock isn't really overperforming on that fight, they're just doing good, but you would expect a Warlock, especially Affliction, to do good on a fight like Odin because it's high movement and because it has ad spawning, and Affliction really excels at high movement ads, you know? So it's on a fight that you would expect Affliction Warlock to do well on, is a fight that they are doing well on, and they're still not doing the best on it. So I think it's very preemptive by Blizzard to make a change like this. I think what they should have done instead is wait until next week. Just give it 1 week. What is the issue? Just wait until Nighthold Heroic comes out. People are going to be learning the boss fights. They're going to be progressing through them. They're going to wipe. They're not going to, you know, start the fight with all this crazy buffs and stuff. They're not going to be doing insane DPS. They're not going to, you know, overkill the boss relative to other classes. And just wait that 1 week, and if it still happens that 80% MG is too much, then bump it back to 70%. Then if it's still overperforming at 70% with tier, bump it back again, but don't do it, you know, 1 day after it's released when it's not even that crazy. Yes, on boss fights that are 30 seconds long, you're able to do a lot of DPS. But so are a lot of other classes, you know what I mean? And the Affliction falloff for DPS outside of Bloodlust and things like that is quite high, and especially when any movement or anything like that is involved, it's also quite high. So when you take into consideration all of that, and Nighthold, you know, you're not going to be able to avoid boss mechanics, you're not going to be able to abuse fight time, you're not going to be able to do any of that because of the way that the fights are tuned, and just because it's a new fight and things like that. you're going to see Warlocks doing a lot worse than they will on farm content, and that's why I think Blizzard really should have waited the week. I think it's inappropriate for them to make this change right away, but, you know, Malefic Grasp will still be an extremely strong ability come 7.1.5, which I think is something that's worth noting. It's still going to be a talent that you want to run and a talent that you want to use. So even though they did nerf it and you still want to use it, that's, I guess, a good thing, and yeah. Anyways, moving on to the Soul Effigy change. So, the way that they changed Soul Effigy was they changed it to basically give you 20 to 30% more soul shards, and I want to talk about the consequences of this, okay? You just saw Warlocks overperforming with Soul Conduit, and now you buff Effigy to the point where Effigy is better than Soul Conduit is. So, it's like, huh? It's kind of going in like two different directions. You're buffing us and you're nerfing us at the same time because we're overperforming, but you buff an ability. It's just kind of weird. But not only is it weird, it's basically going to make it so Effigy is going to be the best single target build to run. Not necessarily the best build to run on multi-target fights, but it's definitely going to be the best single target build to run with Soul Effigy. Although I will say this, it's not going to be necessary to run Effigy. And the reason it's not necessary to run Effigy is because when you run Effigy, only the average of Effigy is higher, okay? The average output DPS of Soul Effigy is higher than the average DPS output of Soul Conduit by about 3 to 4%, okay? It's only about 3 to 4% DPS. It's not a whole lot, you know, it's 25 to 30k DPS. It's something, but it's not a lot. But you have to consider the high end of the build, like the maximum of Soul Effigy, is actually lower than the maximum with Soul Conduit just because of RNG. So on some fights with Soul Effigy you'll do better, on some fights with Soul Conduit you'll do better, and basically what I mean by talking about this is play what build you want, play what makes you happy. If you don't like Soul Effigy, don't play with it. Continue running Soul Conduit, Malefic Grasp. You're still going to do good DPS. Will you do the best DPS? No, you will not do the best DPS, but will you do reasonable DPS? Will you do competitive DPS with other classes? Will you still be beating a lot of target classes on single target with that build? Yes, you will. And will it still be the go-to build for Mythic Plus? Yeah, it's still going to be the go-to build for Mythic Plus as well. So that's definitely something to look forward to, is the fact that, you know, MG Soul Conduit build is not going away in any way, shape, or form. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be viable. We're still going to see people playing it. That's really good. The only thing is Soul Effigy is going to butt in for Warlocks that really want to min-max and like the ability. Then they're going to have the option to play that and perform a little bit better with it if they're able to utilize Soul Effigy, which is harder to do. Now, do I like that they changed Soul Effigy? Yeah, a bug is very inappropriate, but do I think that Soul Effigy should be doing crazy more damage than other builds in the final tier? No, not really. I mean, I think it's a decent mechanic for people to do more damage just because it's a little bit more skilled than just channeling dots and getting UA resets, because you have to maintain uptimes on an additional target. But it's not so much of a mechanic that's like, it is a hassle, right? You have to have it down. It doesn't move. You have to be in range of it at all times in order to maximize it. It's kind of clunky. It's annoying to use in that regard, yeah. But you know what? It is what it is. Blizzard's making it. They're pushing it to be one of the builds that they want Warlocks to run. They want to see Warlocks using it, so they're making it better, and Warlocks are definitely going to be using Soul Effigy when it comes out. So those are the two major changes that are happening in 7.1.5 for Affliction Warlocks in particular. Is going to be the Malefic Grasp change and the Soul Effigy change. And overall, I think Blizzard did a decent job with the patch. Like the hotfixes, I think that the MG thing was a little bit too preemptive, and I think the Soul Effigy thing, it's nice that they fixed a bug that's been in the game since release. So, with regards to the patch in general, like the whole 7.1.5 patch, I think that Blizzard actually did a really good job. I think that Blizzard, you know, they took a lot of what Warlock said. They said, okay, you know, Warlock said they want a Malefic Grasp back. They gave us Malefic Grasp. They said that, you know, we didn't really like Soul Effigy as a talent. We want to see other competitive options. They gave us other competitive options by way of giving us Malefic Grasp. Malefic Grasp just has natural synergy with Soul Conduit. It just works well together. They're two things that complement each other really nicely. They gave us Haunt back in a viable form on some boss fights. I'm sure we're going to be seeing Warlocks utilize Haunt. We see Warlocks even utilizing Soul Harvest now. You know, you never really saw Warlocks running Soul Harvest before, but now if you're able to, you know, get, you know, between 6 to 10 extra seconds on Soul Harvest, it's an extremely viable talent to be running. It's extremely powerful. The damage boost is much higher than Siphon Life, and that just requires you to have a less, you know, one less dot on the target. And when you have one less dot on the target, and you're able to do more damage, why wouldn't you, right? It's less management for you. It's a cooldown. Warlocks don't really have cooldown. It's going to be great for burst windows, things like that. So yeah, I'm glad they, buffed Soul Harvest and things like that. I'm really glad that they were listening to the Warlock community. Obviously, Blizzard did not do a perfect job on the patch. They probably could make Haunt a little bit better. They probably could have done some more things like make Portal baseline, give us a new utility spell in there, something like that. Give us back Shadow Fury. I don't think, a casted Shadow Fury is OP for Warlock or necessarily unwarranted. Just give us some better quality of life things, and that would just be great. But overall, I think Blizzard did a good job in balancing the patch. And so I think we should be happy with that. I think we should recognize that they listened to us, and I think we should still push for more, though. I don't think we should back off, you know what I mean, and stop asking for changes to Warlock. I think we should still be asking for changes in a positive direction about it. Recognize that, yeah, it is better now, but, still could be better in the future, and definitely push for that. So you see, I'm running the current build right now in this Mythic Plus run, doing very good DPS with the Malefic Grasp that they, implemented and things like that. The Malefic Grasp Contagion build, it's very, very powerful in Mythic Plus. It's very powerful in raiding. It's still going to be that way, so everyone look forward to that. And the last few minutes of this video, I just want to talk about Warlock viability in Nighthold with regards to going up against other classes and other specs. So going up against other Warlocks and stuff like that in Nighthold, I think Warlock is going to be extremely viable. I think it's going to be in a similar place it is right now. And right now, it's basically a mix between Demo and Destro. It has good priority target damage. It has good cleave damage. It has good single target. It's just a well-rounded spec. It has good movement DPS. It has good standstill DPS. It can kind of do everything. It's a great hybrid build. Destro and Demo are kind of limited in the sense where they excel at one thing, but they're not so good at another. And that just means that Affliction is just going to be that much more desirable because you're able to be so flexible in what sort of build you're running. So I really enjoy that. I really think that that's a really good, sort of niche that Affliction Lock holds that not a lot of classes do, that it excels in so many different aspects in the game right now. And I think that's something that Blizzard did a good job balancing around Affliction Warlock, kind of making it the all-rounder to go for Warlock. So definitely expect to see a lot of Affliction Warlocks in Nighthold. Definitely expect it to be very powerful, so, look forward to that. And with regards to balance against other classes, I think Warlocks is definitely going to be in the upper average. I don't think we're going to be the best class in Nighthold by any means. I think, yes, some fights we will top on, but most fights we're probably going to, be in the top, 70 to 80% of classes in Nighthold. That is a rough estimate. Don't hold me to that. That's just kind of seeming what I think it would be. Warlocks are good on ad fights. We're good on single target, better than average than most classes. Our set bonus is good. It only amplifies our strengths and things like that. So overall, I really think Warlock is in a great spot right now. I think the changes that they've made are really good. Although, the patch stuff, I've voiced my opinion on it. You guys know what I think. And so, yeah. So thanks for watching this video. Thanks for taking the time to, tune in and listen to me rant about these changes that are happening. Hopefully you learn something or, have a little bit more insight to the stuff that's coming up in the future. And yeah, so I'm going to let you guys watch the rest of this Mythic Plus run. This was a Maw Souls 14. I did stream this on my Twitch. You guys can check out my Twitch in the description below. I tend to stream, once every 1 or 2 days for a few hours each night. I will be streaming all my progression come Nighthold. So if you guys want to tune in, see some cool Nighthold fights, see me progress on that on Heroic, watch me wipe a lot and get really frustrated and things like that, you can come check it out. So yeah, you can also ask me any questions there, something like that. I always listen, I always answer. So yeah, I also PvP. So if you like PvP, Arena, I'm around 2500 rating right now. Play pretty casually and stuff like that. So yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to come there and ask me, follow the stream, see when I go live. And so yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like the video if you can, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.